Hello, today we are going to review the book The Trillion Dollar War Machine by William Hartung and Ben Freeman. The author argues that the United States has built nearly $1 trillion military system that is sustained not only by the national security concern but also by a network of defense contractors, lobbyists, think tanks, consultants, media figures, and politicians who benefit from continued high military spending. They contend that the system encourages the foreign interventions and diverts resources from the domestic priorities. When most people think about military spending, they imagine tanks, aircraft carriers, fighter jets, and soldiers. But according to William Hartung and Ben Freeman, the real story is much bigger. The US has built a national security system that now costs more than $1 trillion each year when all the military related spending is included. The author argued that this is not simply about defending the country. Over time, military spending has become a permanent feature of American politics and the economy. Defense budget continue to grow regardless of which political party is in power or whether the country is actively fighting a major war. Supporters of high spending say it is necessary to maintain the global security and deter rivals such as China and Russia. Critics argue that the scale of spending has gone far beyond what is needed for defense and has created powerful incentives to keep expanding the military programs. The book's central message is that America has built a system that spends enormous sums of military power while often neglecting the urgent domestic politics and priorities. The question the author asks is simple: how did this system become so large and who benefits from keeping it that way? To answer that question, the authors focus on what they call the military industrial congressional complex. This idea dates back to President Dwight Eisenhower, who warned in 1961 that the combination of the military, defense contractors, and the politicians could gain too much influence over the national policy. Hartung and Freeman argue that the Eisenhower's warning has become a reality. Today, defense contractors, lobbyists, members of the Congress, think tanks, consultants, media, commentators, and the government agencies all interact in a way that reinforce the military spending. Imagine a cycle: defense companies receive large government contracts. These companies then spend more money on lobbying and political contributions. Politicians support military programs that bring jobs to their districts. Think tanks publish reports emphasizing security threats. Media discuss, discusses on military solutions. The result is pressure for even more spending. The author argued that no single group controls the system. Indeed, the system sustains itself because each participant benefits in some way. Meanwhile, a taxpayer pays the bill. This is why the book describes the war machine not as a conspiracy, but as a powerful network of institutions whose interests often align toward larger military budgets. A major theme of the book is that the war and military spending are also big businesses. The authors examine large defense contractors such as Lockheed Martin, RTX, Northrop Grumman, Boeing, and General Dynamics. These companies receive tens of billions of dollars annually from the Pentagon contracts. Many of these contracts operate under arrangements that reduces the financial risk for the contractors. When cost rises, taxpayers often absorb much of the burden. This means companies are continuing earning substantial profit even when the project runs over budget. The authors point out that the military spending is often justified as a jobs program. However, they argue that the number of jobs created per dollar spent on defense is frequently lower than the investments in education, healthcare, or clean energy. The key point is that the defense contractors have a strong financial incentives to support the larger military budgets. When military spending rises, corporate revenues rises as well. According to the book, this creates a situation where some of the most powerful companies in America benefit directly from the policies that expand the military commitments around the world. The authors argue that influence is one of the most important fuels keeping the war machine running. Defense companies spend millions of dollars each year on lobbying. Thousands of lobbyists work on defense-related issues in Washington. Many of them are former government officials, military officers, or congressional staff members. This creates what is often called as the revolving door. People move from the government positions to defense companies and then sometimes come back into the government again. The author argues that this system gives defense firms extraordinary access to decision makers. Lobbyists help shape legislation, influence procurement decisions, and protect programs that might otherwise face budget cuts. Think tanks and policy organizations also play a role. Many receive funding from defense contractors and publish reports advocating higher military spending or expanded military commitments. The authors believe that this influence network helps explain why the military budgets often continue increasing even when the public is concerned about the deficits or wants more investment in the domestic programs. Their conclusion is blunt: access creates influence, and influence helps us sustain the flow of taxpayers' money into the defense system. The book argues that the military interventions and military spending often reinforce one another. Since 2001, the United States has been involved in the military operations in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, and several other regions. The authors contend that these conflicts demonstrate how difficult it is to end the military engagement once they begin. What starts as a temporary mission can evolve into a long-term commitment lasting years or even decades. Each conflict generates demand for troops, weapons, logistics, intelligence systems, and contractor support. As spending rises, powerful institutions become invested in maintaining these programs. The authors also discuss the human cost. Beyond financial expenditures, wars leave behind lost lives, injured veterans, displaced civilians, destroyed communities, and long-term instability. Their argument is not that every military action is unnecessary. Rather, they suggest that America has become too dependent on military solutions while paying insufficient attention to diplomacy and non-military approaches. In their view, endless war contribute to endless budget, and the endless budgets make the future intervention easier to justify. Perhaps the most powerful argument in the book concerns opportunity cost. Opportunity cost means asking what could have been done with the money spent elsewhere. The authors encourage readers to imagine what $1 trillion could accomplish if directed towards the domestic priorities instead of military expansion. The amount could support major investment in education, healthcare, affordable housing, infrastructure, scientific research, and clean energy. For example, imagine modernizing transportation network, rebuilding the bridges, expanding broadband access, involve improving the public school, and accelerating renewable energy products. The authors argue that such investment would create jobs while improving the quality of life for millions of Americans. The point is not that the defense spending should be eliminated. The point is that every dollar spent on priority is a dollar unavailable for another. The authors believe America's current spending choices reveals a national preference for military solution over investment that could strengthen the society from within. Again, the main point is that every dollar spent on one priority item is a dollar unavailable for another item. The final message of the book is that another path is possible. The author argues that genuine security is not measured only by the number of weapons a country possesses. True security also includes healthy community, strong infrastructure, quality healthcare, economic opportunity, and a stable environment. They propose reforms such as increasing the transparency, strengthening the oversight of Pentagon spending, reducing the wasteful programs, limiting the influence of lobbyists, and investing more heavily in diplomacy and conflict prevention. The author believes that the national security should focus on protecting people rather than sustaining a permanent war economy. This does not mean abandoning defense. It means redefining security more broadly and asking whether current spending pattern actually make the society safer. The book ends with a challenge. America's already has enormous military power. The question is whether it can build a system that balances the military strength with the investment in human well-being. According to the authors, the choice is not simply between the strength and the weakness. The choice is between the continuing a cycle of perpetual military expansion or creating a future where the security is measured by health, prosperity, and resilience of the people themselves. Thank you.